Let's turn our attention back to the markets because as they closed out April, the S&P 500 was up more than 12% for the month. It was its best monthly performance since 1987. Same kind of metric for the Dow. And it begs the question, what are the markets perhaps missing? Because we have 30 million Americans in the last 6 weeks who have filed for unemployment claims. So to help us address this issue, we invite into the program Quincy Krosby, Prudential Chief Market Strategist. Quincy, it's good to have you here.
Thank you.
And want to ask you real quick about this, what appears to be a disconnect. Is it?
Well, it is. If you think that the market and the economy are the same, because they're not. And, at inflection points, even on the market beginning to come down with profit taking, while the economy is doing really well, you'll say, why is the market suddenly starting to pull back? And why do we see profit taking? Similarly, on this inflection point, you have a market that has moved in phases. So we started with the indiscriminate selling, which gave us that bottom that everyone is talking about. Do we go back and test that? You had the Fed come in, which we've never seen anytime, any place during the Depression, even 2008, 2009, coming in to stabilize financial conditions in every nook and cranny of the markets. So the point is that allowed the market to start trying to look ahead at what this may look like once we're finished. The big question is the duration of the recession, not even whether it's V-shaped, L-shaped, U-shaped, W-shaped. What people are looking for is now any shape. Do we climb out of it? But the phase that followed the Fed and the relief packages happened to be looking at the proxies and where the cases started to recede, whether it's Italy, here in the US, New York State. Then we move to the next phase, and that is where we are really right now in terms of opening the economy. Can it be done safely? Can you have more restrictions lifted in the most conservative states, small c? And again, is it safe? The other part of this is the yin and yang of opening the economy. It has to do, obviously, with the testing. Can you go to work and feel secure that your coworker in a manufacturing site isn't going to give you the virus? And is there a therapy, as we know, that works? That's why the therapies take a look today. Today, you've got all of the staples up this morning, the Clorox, the Hormel, spam if you like spam, Campbell Soups, but you also have Moderna up on the back of any hope that perhaps they could come in with a big question mark, but they're up mightily. So the market is focused on these headlines. And for the next moves in the market, I think it's going to depend on whether or not we see a spike in cases here or in Europe, as Germany opens, for example, and whether or not lockdowns have to be reintroduced. That's going to have a major effect on the market. Similarly, the opposite direction, I think it's going to have the market and investors start to come in, particularly as we continue to see pullbacks in those leadership names in technology and some of the consumer discretionary names. Before we started the close of the last month, April, we saw a broadening out in the market, which was healthy. So we moved from those large tech names. We even saw Disney beginning to move up. We saw a number of the really, you have to have faith in what's going to happen.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about Disney with Dan Roberts in just a second. I think Julie wanted to get in here with a question.
Quincy, hi, it's Julie here. So given all of this that you're talking about, and given that the market, yes, it's a probability game, but the market's verdict seems to be that things are going to be better than they are now in 3 to 6 months. Where do you come out on all of these various questions you're asking? For example, in Texas and Georgia, where we're seeing reopening, are we going to see another spike in cases there? Are we going to have to see those states close back down? And is the market ahead of itself?
Well, that's exactly the uncertainty that began with the shutdown. And unfortunately, Julie, it's very humbling because it's not about banks. It's not about the Fed. It's not about us. It's a virus. And that's the key. And whether or not, before we have a vaccine, is it possible to keep the virus at bay. And that's what the market is going to have to grapple with as we go into May, June, and July. It's interesting. California just shut down the beaches. If you saw pictures of it, everyone was flocking to the beaches. Everyone wants to go out. Is that possible in this environment? And I think the market is going to move accordingly. Now, another thing that we saw in the market, however, is we saw some big sovereign wealth funds come in and take positions. For example, it was the Saudi sovereign wealth fund going in early to Carnival. There are some other big moves. One went into REITs, for example. They are long-term investors. They are the ones that are prepared to wait this out for some time as the economy slowly but surely begins to open up. And again, I think the market is saying, let's take some profit right now. And we don't have to add another thing to the concern in the market, especially today. By the way, volume is down in the market. We've got Europe closed. And that is some of the headlines coming out of the White House regarding China. If this becomes the beginning of a new trade war, that is going to weigh on the market as well. But we know where investors do want to go. And it is those large cap names that are going to work even now, and especially when we come out. And that's why I watched the semiconductors, the chips. They were doing well. They were a bellwether in terms of the digital world we live in. And they're pulling back today. If we see them start to get a bid, it'll be suggestive that investors are saying, hey, let's pull back and go in there.
All right. Quincy Krosby, Prudential Chief Market Strategist. We appreciate your insight.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.